Hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my face and my card making space and a bunch of Halloween cards. Spellbinders released so many good things yet again. They did send these the new Halloween goodies to me. Yana reached out to me. If you don't follow Yana Smakula here on YouTube, she's on Instagram as well. Her card making is, I don't even have words to describe. She's so creative and so talented, and I love it. And she knows that I have a soft spot for Halloween. So she reached out to me a while ago and asked if I would like to receive the Spellbinders Halloween stuff. Of course. Of course. So they got here and I couldn't stop. This has been many days, many sessions of making. I made like kind of 2 of each card, and I will probably have more later, like in another video, because I just maxed out. I combined some of the new stuff with things that were released last year that I still just love. I did die cutting and ink blending. I pulled out my BetterPress. I pulled out my Glimmer hot foil. Like, I just went to town. It was loads of fun. So, I will have links to everything I used, as always, in the description box below the video. My links are affiliate links. That just means that if you click on one of my links, end up placing an order, I get a little kickback from that at no extra cost to you. It's what helps pay the bills, keeps the channel going, etc. And I also will have a link to my blog post, which will be a little easier to navigate because, yeah, I've got like a bunch of photos and links and blah, blah, blah. That'll be linked below as well. And then at the end of the video, before I forget, at the very end, I'll link to my playlist for this year's Halloween series. I will also link to my BetterPress playlist. I have a playlist and I just keep adding videos to that one where I'm using the BetterPress system. So if you're completely unfamiliar with it, I have like videos I did when I first purchased it last year. Yeah, it's been about a year. So I'll have that linked in the end screen as well. And that's all the housekeeping. Let's get into making all these cards. So for the first couple cards, diving right into the BetterPress. This is the Spellbinders Skully press plate set. And I'm using the BetterPress cotton paper that is what is, made for and recommended for the BetterPress. However, I'm going to use the BetterPress with all sorts of other cardstock for the other cards later in the video. But for the best results, the Spellbinders cotton paper is a chef's kiss. It's perfection. But yeah, I've used this now enough. Like, I've experimented with all sorts of different like watercolor papers, cardstocks, etc. And I get great results with all of them. You just get the best impression, like the deepest impression. But for all you watching, it's just words. You can't really see. I will show as close up as I can, but it is one of those things where it's like, it's really hard to show on camera, which is really frustrating. Especially for me, because I've talked about this before. I have a soft spot for letterpress. I have for years. I literally looked into getting an antique letterpress machine many years ago. And then saw how much they were, and like, and how big they are, So I was very excited when Spellbinders released this last year, and had to get my hands on it, and I quite enjoy it. So anyway, I had taped the cotton paper to the clear plate, and then I had my little Skully press plate and one of the sentiments on the magnetic plate, and I inked it up with the black BetterPress ink, ran it through my die cut machine, and literal perfection. You can kind of see the texture. It's something you literally need to feel. I always say, like, don't lick the artwork, don't lick your cards, etc. But with the BetterPress, you can feel it. I love it. So I honestly contemplate just leaving these as is, like very clean and simple, because that is also the beauty of this, is you press it, especially when you're using like the good paper, and it's kind of just done. But of course I'm going to add all kinds of other things. So I pulled out this, this is Spellbinders Layered Full Moon Stencil. I forget when they released this, like a few years ago, I think. I honestly do not remember. I've had this for a while. I had bought it whenever. Yeah, and it's a set of 4 layering stencils. I'm only using 3 of them on these cards. And they've got 2 little holes in the stencil, and I use those with a pencil to mark, which just makes it easier to line everything up, even though for the most part it's pretty simple. But made the little pencil marks, and then I'm using some Altenew fresh dye inks and a little blending brush. And I'd also used a piece of Post-it tape right along the bottom of the pumpkin, like kind of where the shadow was, because I decided to create like a scene with this. And when I was doing my blending, I just avoided where the little like skeleton and the pumpkin was. I didn't bother like creating a mask for it. It doesn't matter. And did my blending using 3 different shades of the Altenew Fresh Dye inks. And then I took the mask from the stencil and completely covered the moon and the image. And then I'm blending darker blue shades. So I started with dusk, and I'm using a larger blending brush now and blending that around. And the minute you remove the mask, it just all comes together. So before I did that though, I added a darker shade. So this is Desert Night, and went around the perimeter with this. And this is the first time I think that I've blended on this cotton cardstock. It's interesting how the color sits on it, obviously, because it is cotton. It's not paper. And you get a nice kind of that textured look, which is kind of fun. And then here, I removed the Post-it tape. You could stop here, because that would look great too. You know, just leave the bottom white. But why stop when you don't need to? So I blended greens. So I just moved the Post-it tape to mask off the very edge where the blue stopped, and I did a lighter green, which was Forest Glades, and then I went in with Evergreen and just kind of blended that around. I did the lighter green on purpose, one, because you kind of somewhat think of like the moon, but also so that the sentiment doesn't get covered, because that Evergreen color is really dark. So blended those, and then I was gonna leave this like just as it is, because I think it looks just fine, but can I leave anything alone? No. So I used the same colors that I did for the blending, and I just smushed them right onto my glass work surface, and I took a paintbrush, swirled it in water, and quickly watercolored this. This was very, very simple. I didn't do anything special. It was more just kind of filling everything in, you know. So I did like yellow for the innards of my pumpkin here, so it's got a glow. And then I used that, so that was Warm Sunshine, and then Caramel Toffee for the pumpkin, and same thing, just painted in all the open areas. Super, super simple. And then for the little bow tie, I used that lighter shade of green, that Forest Glades color. And same thing, just wiped up my inks off my work surface, and then just smushed the edge of the ink pad right onto the glass, and then picked it up with a wet paintbrush. So I used the Forest Glades for the little bow tie. And then that blue shade, that dusk shade for kind of, it looked like almost like a suit jacket sort of thing. So I just painted that, and then also all the little highlights on his hat. And then for the actual skeleton, I took a really light warm gray shade. This is Morning Frost, and added that, and then just painted that. And that was it. Really simple. So nothing crazy. This watercolor, again, because this watercolor paper is cotton, it watercolors very nicely. I hoard the good stuff. I still, I like I say in all my videos, do as I say, not as I do. Use the things, especially the nice stuff. It's like we get it for a reason, but again, I can't help myself anyway, but I did. I used it today. So yay for me. Anyway, put this in my splat box. I put the mask back over the moon, so it covers the moon in the image. And I took a scrap piece of paper and covered the ground area. And then I took a bit of the Spellbinders Splatter White Opaque Watercolor, stuck a tiny bit of that on my palette, watered it down a bit, and then with my fan brush added splatter all around on the background to kind of give the illusion of some stars, plus splatter. Every single card that I make in this video got splatter in some form or another, because why not? So did that, and then I repeated the process on the second card front. And then for the inside of the card, I had cleaned off the plates. You don't need to clean them every time, technically. I do, because I generally do switch back and forth between using like the BetterPress ink or dye inks, etc. So I do clean mine, and they recommend the Ranger Archival cleaner, which I'll post a link to. And yeah, so I cleaned my plates off, and then I relined the Skully press plate onto the magnetic plate, and I took the other sentiment that I hadn't used on the front and lined that up as well. And then I put my card base onto the clear plate and taped that down. And my card base is a top folding A2 white note card. And the Skully image, I'm inking up with that same light gray ink. So the Morning Frost ink. So inking it up with that. And then the sentiment I'm going to ink up with the BetterPress black ink. So I've shown this in other videos with the BetterPress. I really like the Altenew Fresh Dye inks. For inking up my BetterPress plates. It works really well. I've used all sorts of inks, and I've gotten really great results with pretty much anything. Like, I love it. Anyway, lined those up and then ran that through my die cut machine, and that will be the insides of my cards. So I've got the Skully image just in that lighter gray. Love it. Love it. I was like doing a little happy dance because it's so satisfying, you know? It's kind of the same satisfaction you get when you're heat embossing, or if you do use like Glimmer hot foil, that sort of stuff. You know, when you just, the magic is revealed, and it's just like, it is satisfying. So after I did the insides of the cards, for the outside to kind of finish everything off, I've added baker's twine. So wrap that around and then use my reverse tweezers to hold the little knot in place, made my little bows, got them the way I wanted, pull them tight, remove the tweezers, pull it tight again, and then trim off the excess with my scissors. And then I'm going to adhere that directly to my card base, because I did not trim these panels down, so it's going to completely cover my card base. And then once I've got those adhered into place, as my final little embellishment on these are the Trinity Stamps Oh My Stars confetti. I've used these in many previous videos. Very perfect. There's multiple sizes, and they're holographic and lovely. So I sprinkled those around the background just to really like emphasize the stars. So to adhere those into place, just little tiny dabs of craft tacky glue, just like so, just picking up the little confetti with my embellishment wand and then pressing them into place. And then I just got to let the glue dry. And that's going to finish off these first two cards. So technically kind of clean and simple for me anyway. Like basically a 1-layer card, you know, but we've got the BetterPress and stenciling and splattering and bling and baker's twine. And, you know, this is what I do, and I love it. So then we've got the inside, also just love. So those are the first two cards. These ones do not involve BetterPress, Glimmer, anything. This is just going to be some more stenciling, some ink blending, and then just some die cutting. So I'm using that Moon stencil set again. This time I'm just working on Simon Says Stamp Smooth White 120-pound cardstock. These are also A2 size panels again. And I'm using the first stencil this time, the full like circle. And I had marked the little holes that are on two of the corners with a pencil again, so that it just makes it easier to line up all the other stencils. And this time, instead of using yellows, I'm using grays. And I started with the same combo of the lightest gray that I used to paint that little skeleton. So I'm using Morning Frost, and then I went in with Evening Gray for the second stencil, and then Moon Rock, and then I'll go in with Lava Rock as my last one. And just quick and simple blending. I am not worried about anything being perfect. These inks do kind of smooth out as they dry. Also, again, I'm going to be adding, you know, die cuts. I'm going to add splatter to the perimeter, etc. Like, I'm not worried about it, you know? Not worried about it at all. So, got the third layer, and then you can always stop here, but there's 4 stencils, and it's just, again, this is just what I do. So, finish it off with the final stencil. And then I'm going to do the same as I did before. I'm going to use the solid circle mask that comes with it and mask off the moon. I'm just going to hold this in place and then blend around the perimeter. This time I'm using Alpine Aster. This is more of kind of like a purpley blue shade. The other ones were more of like a true blue in a sense, or kind of aqua blue. And then this one has got a bit more of like a, a purple undertone to it. So I did Alpine Aster first, closest to the moon. And then I went in with Crystal Violet, a much deeper shade. And this one I'm blending around like the perimeter. And I'm just using my cloth to hold the cardstock because, I'm getting ink all over my work surface. I don't want to get fingerprints and smears because generally that is what happens with me. And after I did that color, I then went in with the darkest shade, which was Indigo Skies. And same thing, just blended this around. Everything's going to smooth out. And it always looks worse on camera for whatever reason. I've never been able to figure it out why my camera makes my blending look so crappy. But then it smooths out and it's fine. So I don't really care. It's just weird. Anyway, as a final touch, I went in with Jet Black, which comes in the quad with the greens that I used earlier, and blended that. And I was using a light hand with this, but how much it intensifies that blend. I love it. I love it. It just really just brings it all, and it makes the moon just kind of glow, So I blended that around the perimeter and then cleaned up my work surface so that I don't manage to get, black and purple ink all over the place. And then stuck these in my splat box, and same thing, mask off the moon with the mask. And then I'm going to add that white splatter to this. This time I'm going in a little heavier handed with the splatter because this whole background is the sky. So stuck that on my little palette. I really am liking this Spellbinders opaque white. If you've ever used, or in the past, the Copic opaque white, very similar to that. That's about the closest comparison I can come to. And I'm finding it is very opaque, and even splattering it on inks like this that are water reactive, deep color inks. Again, if you're familiar with splatter, a lot of times the white, if it's a white acrylic paint, etc., quite often it will absorb the color it's splattered on top of, because it just depends on what you're using, and it will change, it'll turn blue or green or whatever. So far what I'm seeing, and at least with these cards specifically, because mine are fully dry, I'm staring at them right now as I'm doing this voiceover, the splatter has remained white, which as everything I've tested, Copic opaque white has been the most consistent in that term of like staying white after you splatter it when card making and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, the Spellbinders one, it is coming in clutch, as the kids say. I have no idea. Maybe that is a term that is also like old. I can't keep up. I'm old. Anyway, after I did my splatter, let everything dry. And then for these ones, I am using the Witchin Heels Etched die set. Love. I don't know what it is. I love silhouette wafer dies like this. Like of anything. I love silhouette wafer dies. Don't ask me why. I think it's then that way I can just have fun with backgrounds and then add a silhouette. This one I love because she has accessories. You know, there's a separate wafer die for her hat, for her shoes. Love. And then there's this little this could be a purse, kind of be anything, but it can be strung. I just strung it right on her little broomstick. So this is I call this her pumpkin purse. Love it. Seriously. So I die cut the silhouette from black cardstock, the hat from black glitter cardstock, her shoes from green glitter cardstock, and it was just perfection. And then for the sentiments, this is an oldie but goodie set. This was the Halloween Icons press plate and die set. I pulled it out and then I totally forgot. I must have done this last year when I used this, so it'll be in one of last year's videos. The sentiments I had pressed into black cardstock, I'm pretty sure I used, if memory serves, and I'll have a link to it, Honeybee's metallic gold ink to press this, because it definitely wasn't Glimmer hot foiled, but I am going to hot foil those sentiments later we'll just come back to that. But I do love when I pull something out like that and it's like, oh, they're already done. I already have a stack of little sentiments to choose from. So that's what I did. I just pulled a couple of the ones that I'd made before to use on these cards, and then adhered my silhouette to the card front. Once it was adhered into place, I used a white gel pen to add some little highlights and whatnot, just cause. And then the little sentiment, I just adhered with a little thin foam strip, just like so. And on the inside of the card, I had adhered another sentiment, and I die cut another witch's hat, and from the same like black glitter cardstock. So that was the inside of the card. And then to finish these ones off, I'm using more Trinity Stamp Stars. This time it's the gold ones. Yeah, they're just gold star confetti. Same as the silver ones. These are just in gold. So sprinkled those around both of these cards, adhered them with Craft Tacky glue. And there we go. Again, sort of clean and simple in a sense. Not a ton of dimension. I make up for it in the next two cards. So love it. These were so fun. So puppy dogs dressed up as little ghosts. How could I not? Before I got to that though, my background, I'm using my, I call this my all-time favorite, but I think this was also this would have just been released last year. I lost my mind though when I saw this in the Spellbinders release. This is the Spiderweb background press plate. I have used this many times. I love it. I love it. The detail. I love. So for this one, I put it in my BetterPress. I'm just pressing this onto regular white cardstock, not the good stuff. Just white cardstock. So I adhered the white cardstock to my clear plate, and I actually just used some dot runner adhesive. I didn't want to use the tape because I'm going to completely cover this background. And then I inked up the Spiderweb background plate with the black BetterPress ink. Ran this through my die cut machine, and it just pressed into the background. And again, the detail, like, it is so fine. These lines are so thin, and I love it. And I'll come back to that because I ended up using it multiple times for these cards. So set all that aside though, and then I die cut cardstock using this ridiculously cute, this is the Woof-or-Treat etched die set, and I die cut the little ghost portion from white cardstock, and then all the little puppy dog pieces I had die cut from, I think this is fog cardstock. And then I'm using those same grays that I used to blend the moon on the previous cards. That's what I'm using to ink blend. And I just stuck the pieces to one of my grip mats to hold everything in place. And then I'm just using the little detail brushes and just blending these inks onto these die cut pieces. Just kind of working from lightest to darkest just to give it that little extra something. So I used the lightest gray on the very edges kind of the little like ghost costume. And then the 3 darker shades on these pieces that are going to build the little puppy dog. And then he's got a little pumpkin bucket, which again, just ridiculously cute. Like, stop it. I used the caramel toffee color on that. And then to assemble my little puppy dog, I put some washi tape on the back of the piece that has the like top of his face and his little eyes. You could just die cut scraps of black cardstock for this, but I just did it like this. I just pressed it onto a piece of washi tape and then quickly colored them with a black marker. I used a black Copic marker. Any black marker is going to work. And then pressed him back into the back of this. And then his eyes are in place. Everything is good. And then all I got to do is now assemble my little puppy dog in his costume. And as he comes together, I don't know how else to say. Like, I was having so much fun making these. It was like, wow, every single thing, it's like it just keeps getting cuter and cuter. So yeah, gave him his little pumpkin bucket and then put his little snout into place. Like, seriously. So I used one of my magnets to hold things in place so that I could just keep assembling. Reverse tweezers and an embellishment wand, help with smaller die cuts. These weren't too fiddly though, but it definitely helps. And then once you get his face in place, it's like, okay, really, come on. And then his little feet, and there we go. So as my final little bit, adding just, again, little dots and highlights with a white gel pen. Just going around, sticking them wherever I thought they would look cute. That's, yeah, not worried about like light sources or anything. It's just like, it'll look cute here, little dot here, little line here, me. So added those to my little characters. And then I pulled out that set again, that Halloween icons, the sentiments from it, and stuck the sentiments into my BetterPress, and then just white cardstock this time again, and taped the white cardstock to the clear plate, and then these ones inking up with that BetterPress black ink, and then I'll run this through my machine, and I'm going to do this a couple times because while I've got it all out, why not do like a stack of them? And I'll do the same thing like I did with the previous ones. I'm just going to stick these with, you know, the packaging. So then the next time I pull this out, I've just, again, got a stack of sentiments. And the thing I really like about this is it's one plate, you know, one plate, you ink up, and then the wafer die is one wafer die, and it die cuts all of them into individual sentiments. So love that, because then it's like you get a variety with the same amount of time and effort as it would to do just one. So after I'd pressed them, I die cut them. And then I decided, I was like, need to pull up the Glimmer hot foil machine, because go big or go home. So I pulled it out, and I'm using opaque white Glimmer hot foil and black cardstock. And if you haven't seen my other videos, like using the BetterPress, I don't know what it is, but BetterPress plates foil amazingly. I love it. You sadly cannot use your hot foil plates in the BetterPress. It will not work. Do not recommend. You could actually wreck your BetterPress doing that. But BetterPress plates do work in the Glimmer hot foil machine, and they do. I have never had a problem with that. They foil so amazingly. I love it. So you put the plate with the design side facing up onto the Glimmer hot foil machine, and then the foil with the pretty side touching the plate, and then your cardstock. You press the timer till it went solid like I showed, and then you run it through your die cut machine. So the Glimmer adds the heat, die cut machine adds the pressure, and I got all these sentiments foiled in white on black, which also love. And then I die cut them with the coordinating wafer die. So now I've got just a big old stack of Halloween sentiments. And then I grabbed the panel that I had pressed with that spiderweb press plate, and I cut it in half. So I cut it down, cut it in half. So it's like, because it was originally A2 size, so now it's like 2 3/4 by 4 1/4. And I blended that same jet black ink just around the perimeter. And then I pulled out the Glimmer hot foil machine again, because I was like, I need more. I need more of the spiderweb. So I took that same opaque white Glimmer foil, and I'm using orange peel cardstock, and I put the spiderweb plate onto my Glimmer hot foil. So the design face up, the pretty side of the foil facing the plate, like touching the plate, and then my cardstock, and then I press the timer, and I let that go until that light that is flashing goes solid. And then I'm going to run this through my die cut machine. And this was one of my favorite parts of making all these cards, because it's just like you don't know as you're doing this. I run it through very, very slowly through my die cut machine. Just give it that pressure. And you don't know till you remove the plates, flip it over, and then peel away the Glimmer foil. And right there, it was like, oh, perfection. Love it. Love it. Anyway, after I did that, I am going to use this on the inside of my card as well. So I lined it up again, this time making sure, because this plate's slightly larger than an A2 size. So I just made sure the top of the plate was right at the edge of the top of the A2 marking. I hope that makes sense. And then my card base is a top folding A2 white note card. And I'm lining that up on the clear plate. and I just put a piece of Post-it tape right where the score line is on the card base. That's more just to hold it in place because, again, I lined up the plate so it's not going past the score line anyway. And then taped the card base into place. This is going to cover the complete inside of the card. And then I'm going to ink up the plate with that same light gray ink that I've used like multiple times now. So this was the Morning Frost gray ink. So inked up the plate with that. And then same thing. I'm going to run this through my machine, and that's going to press that spiderweb design onto the inside of the card. And like I always say, with all my cards, regardless of what I'm adding to the insides of them, the insides are basically just bonus. And I have no problem writing over it. Because a lot of times I get asked, like, well, what do you do with what you're going to write? It's like, I write on top of it. Don't have a problem with it. With the BetterPress specifically, it does create texture on the insides of my cards. Again, you can't see it in the photos or anything, but you can feel it in real life. And when I'm writing, sometimes the pen will almost like catch on it because there is a bit of texture, but it's not so bad that it interferes. You just notice it. Hopefully that makes sense. So yeah, and especially with this web one, like, look at it. It's amazing. I love it. So anyway, I added baker's twine to the pieces that I'd cut down, and then I'd cut a mat from black cardstock, just slightly larger, and I adhered those together. And then I'm going to adhere this to the orange piece that I had used the spiderweb and the opaque white Glimmer hot foil on. And then I'm going to adhere these to my card bases. So using craft tacky glue for all of that, get those adhered into place, and then I'm going to add splatter. Because right now it's too pristine for me because these are Halloween cards. So I'm going to put these into my splat box, and this time I'm going to add black splatter. So I'm just going to use black soot distress paint for this. And the thing to always remember with black soot distress paint is it's very liquidy because there's no filler in it. It is just like pure black, and it dries permanent. So always, as soon as I'm done splattering, I immediately wash out my brush. I wipe off my little palette because yeah, it is permanent, this stuff. So use my little fan brush, splatter this fairly heavily across both of these card fronts. Not worried about, I even got, splatter on the baker's twine. Fine with it. They're Halloween cards. Love it. So did all that, let the splatter dry. And then the sentiments I chose and my little ghost doggies, I put just some thin foam squares on the back of these. I could have added like a little action wobbler. Would have looked really cute, but I don't know. I don't know why I didn't grab one. I should have. It would have been really cute because then he would have bounced around and that would have been adorable, but I forgot. I think I was so distracted by better pressing and Glimmer hot foil and splatter and cute dogs that I just forgot about the action wobble, but that would be an option too. It would look really cute. So I adhere to sentiment to the inside. You're wicked cute. I love the sentiment too. I would never ghost you. It's just cute. So final cards. This time I'm using another oldie but goodie. This was another one that released last year. This is the Pumpkins and Ghosts background press plate. This one is slightly smaller than A2 sized. So I centered it on the magnetic plate. And again, I'm just pressing this onto smooth white cardstock after my whole speech at the beginning about like, use the good stuff. And then I don't. I did it for the first two, okay? Now I'm just using regular white cardstock. This time I'm inking up the plates with the green shades that I had used for the blending on the first one. So the Forest Glades and the Evergreen. I inked it up with the lighter green shade first, and then I added the darker green. And then I took a blending brush and I inked up with a bit of the lighter green and just lightly went over right where like the two inks overlap, just to remove any, harsh edges from the ink pads. And then it's kind of the same. It is the same thing I'll do if I'm using multiple ink colors, like on a stamp, soften that join with a blending brush or a sponge. Either one will work. And then ran that through my machine. And now I've got the two-tone color on my background. And then I went in with that same kind of purpley blue shade that I used on the second card. So this is the Crystal Violet color. And just lightly blending this just around the perimeter. of this panel. This cardstock panel is A2 sized, and I'm not going to trim it down. I'd thought about it, and I'm actually glad I didn't, because the die set I'm using is quite big. Like, it takes up like a whole kind of length, or at least the length of an A2 card. So blended that around the perimeter and did the same thing to the second card front. Stuck these in my splat box and added black splatter, so that then I can just set these aside, and then I'll work on assembling the wafer dies. So same thing, black soot distress paint, stuck it on the palette, swirled it around with my little fan brush, and then added splatter. Not quite as heavy, more so kind of keeping it around like the perimeter, but it's there. So then for the main attraction on these cards, this is the Fiona the Dancin Witch die set. Spellbinders has done several Dancin die sets over the last few years. I've done videos, or at least a video. I can't even remember, you guys. This is really long. This video is really long for me, and it's really late when I'm doing this voiceover, and I just don't remember, but I know I've done at least another video using these. They're super fun. So I've die cut all my little pieces. This one's very easy to assemble. Everything's pretty obvious where it goes. And then of course you can kind of choose how you want to, whether you want to use all the little pieces and whatnot, like that fun little stripey piece that gives her little striped pants or leggings. Love it. So that funny round piece with the two legs, that is the part that will make her dance. And I'll show that when I adhere it to the actual card. So I got the little stripes that adhered, added the little shoes that I just die cut from purple cardstock. I assembled the little broom. And then there's her dress, which I'm adding the little collar, and then there's these little like bone embellishments. And I don't think you can really see it on screen, but the dress has a lot of piercing detail. I end up emphasizing that when I add like the highlights and whatnot with the gel pen. Because yeah, there's a ton of piercing detail all along like the bottom and the sleeves of her dress, which is just fabulous. And then her hat, I of course die cut from the same black glitter cardstock that I was using earlier. And so I got everything assembled. I just grabbed like a random like kind of skin tone shade from my scrap bin. It was after I was done, like after everything was done, I was editing. I was like, why didn't I use green cardstock? I should have used green. It would have looked so cute, because then she would have looked like an actual witch. She's still adorable, but I know, I was just like, what was I thinking? Anyway, popped all the little pieces into place, built her little face, die cut her hair. I was using the same orange cardstock that I used for the previous card. So got all that into place, and it's another one of those ones where it's like, as everything starts to come together, it's like, okay, this is just so cute. So cute. So that funny little piece is for the back of her hat, just like so. So you could die cut it from like a lighter shade or different color, but I just use that black glitter cardstock for that. And got her all assembled. So you assemble all of this, but you do not attach the legs. You want them to be able to move. So to do that, I first lined this up on my card base, and this is what I mean, like she's the height of an A2 card, basically. So I figured out where I was going to place her, and then I'm using a little round foam dot. I'll have a link to these. These ones are from EK Success. You can use a square one. I have in other times I've used these. It works. It's just, it won't like swing as nicely, but it still works. Another option, if you don't have that, is to like die cut little circles, and then you could just assemble them, like adhere them all together to like stack them together and put them in there. Because yeah, that's basically the mechanism to make the legs swing and make her dance. And you don't add any other adhesive to the legs. There's nothing. It is just going to be held on by that little circle. And then all around everything else, I just put regular little foam squares. So I put those two on either side on just the edges of her dress. That'll keep the legs from swinging out past, the edges of her dress. And then foam squares everywhere else for dimension. But no adhesive is touching those legs. Nothing. Because it is just going to be held in place by that circle foam dot. So I had my reverse tweezers just holding that in place. Removed all the backing, pressed it down, and that's it. So her little legs dance back and forth. Super cute. And like I said, Spellbinders has like several sets, which I'm pretty sure I've collected over the last couple years. Anyway, Anyway, after I got those adhered, I adhered the little broom, and then I grabbed one of the sentiments that I had pressed onto the white cardstock, and this just worked. It was the perfect length to make it look like she's holding it, and I was like, it was just meant to be. Love it. So I just adhered that right across, so it looks like she's holding the little sign that says, "You're wicked cute." Love it. And then for the insides of my cards, again, just top folding A2 white note cards. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to tape my card base to the clear plate of my BetterPress. And I've got my brain stopped. The pumpkins and ghosts background plate, the same one. And I cleaned it off. And this time I'm inking it up with the lightest green of the quad of greens that I was using. So this is frayed leaf. So inked up the plate with that light green. And then same thing. Going to run that through my die cut machine. And that's going to add all that detail to the inside of my card. So ran that through and then repeated the process for the second card base. Same. So after I did that, I've got the detail of that plate on the inside. And then I'm going to adhere another one of the sentiments that I'd pressed onto the inside as well. So it'll just say "Sending spooky hugs." Love it. And then I'll adhere my card fronts to the card bases with craft tacky glue. And then once this is adhered into place, I am going to take my white gel pen again and just add just little dots and starbursts and highlights just randomly, like wherever I thought they would look cute. So added some to the background and then just added little dots and highlights to her hair and the band on her hat, little dots to her eyes, etc. And then went in along the bottom of her dress. Like I said, there's all this like piercing detail and it's made to look like little webs. So I just kind of lightly traced over that with the white gel pen just to kind of emphasize it a bit, because on the black cardstock, it is like, you can't really see it in camera. You can see it in real life, but that just gave it that little extra something. And then went along and added my little highlights to her shoes and the broom, and added little eyes to the background, like to the bat and the spider in the background, just for fun. And that finished off these cards. So her legs dance around. This is my type of interactive. Really simple, it's very easy to do. You don't have to think too much. I love that. So really cute, really fun. And yeah, 8 cards, loads of fun. A lot of this, it is a lot. This video is very long, but the supplies, I kind of tried to keep like within the same amount of supplies, like the same inks, etc. So not too crazy considering. But yeah, I had tons of fun making these. I hope you all enjoyed watching. And yeah, there's my BetterPress Skully and his glowing moon, and my sparkling little stars, and then my silhouette witch. Love her. And I love her glittery shoes. Love that. I love that it was a separate die, because yeah, I don't know if I would have thought to like just die cut the silhouette and then like snip, because you could just cut, and do it yourself. But I like when it's already thought out for me, so I didn't have to think. And then my little ghost puppy dog with all the spider webs. Still think I should almost like really carefully peel him off and then pop him into place with with an action wobble. If you didn't see, I've already done a video so far this Halloween series using action wobbles. So that'll be in the playlist linked at the end of the video. And then my little Dancin witch. Love her. So those are all the cards for today. Thank you all so very much for taking the time to watch this, for thumbs upping and commenting. Subscribe if you haven't. And yeah, all the links to everything will be down below. Thank you so much to my amazing Patreon supporters. For anyone that might be interested in supporting me over on Patreon, the link to that is in the description box below the video. For everyone else, as always, thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping, commenting, subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you. And here's a couple other videos for you to check out in case you missed them. Bye.